This is Hammett.
And Jessica.
And you're listening to the Friendly Atheist Podcast. Please go to patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast to support this show. You can get your ad-free and bonus episodes, and you can get new and special merch at friendlyatheistpodcast.com. Tell us about the merch.
It's so wonderful, and already on the Discord, I've seen people posting pictures in them. We have 5 awesome designs by my friend Jackie running White House. We have one that is Baphomet can't identify however Baphomet wants. We have one that says, Satan really likes your outfit today. We have one with a big picture of Dottie, and it says third co-host. We have one that says, Oklahoma is not okay. And I think that is 5. Did I hit 5?
I'm pretty sure you did not.
No, 94% woke from that weird dude who thought all teachers were 94% woke, which is like, oh, could you imagine? Anyway,
so many
people have gotten them. They look great. I'm just over the moon with how they came out. Jackie, thank you again so much. And
go get yours.
FriendlyAtheistPodcast.com, and then just click the store button.
Yep. All right. And with that, let's start by discussing. Okay. I
have to say, I don't like the little smile you have.
The smile comes from, I'm glad I'm done with this story. But I got multiple people sent me a link. They're like, hey, you should cover this. And I always love those emails, right? Because it's like, oh, cool. Maybe you saw something local that I haven't seen yet. And I was like, I looked at the headlines. I'm like, it seems interesting. I'll look at it tomorrow or whatever.
Yeah.
And then yesterday afternoon, earlier in the day or something, I glanced at one of the articles. I'm like, oh, this seems like a much bigger thing. Okay. And then at night, I began going down this insane rabbit hole that took up the second half of my day.
Whoa.
Past midnight, where I'm just like, there's so much to this. It is wild.
Really?
Okay. And I literally, as I was on my way to come record this with you today, I got an update on the story too that okay. So there's a lot going on here.
Breaking news.
Breaking news in a way. Okay.
Real news.
So bear with me through this story because I'm going through about a week and a half worth of twists and turns, and then I'll get to why this is all important.
Patreon.com/Friendly Atheist Podcast for this hard-hitting journalism.
Yes, exactly. Okay. So the headline here is that there is a satanic group in Kansas that is planning a black mass at the state capitol later this month, March 28th.
28th?
Next Friday. They're planning this black mass in the capitol. They got a permit to do it. They applied just like any other group would. We want to get a permit for this public space. They got it. They're saying, all right, we're going to hold a black mass. What is a black mass for those who don't know? There's no guidebook for it, but basically it's an inversion of a traditional Catholic mass. They might include music and chants, maybe the desecration of religious symbols, but more than anything, it's a private group performing their rituals. They're not hurting anybody. It's like Christians who go to the state capitol to pray for the lawmakers or to hold peaceful protests for whatever issue they care about. And if you don't like it, all right, well, who cares? No one asked for your opinion. Come back tomorrow, right? So this is the plan, and that's why I first saw the headline. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's the Marilyn Manson going around trying to shock people by knocking the Onion headline. All right, some Satanists want to get some shock value out of this. All right, not a huge deal. Okay, that's where I started with this.
We love our Satanists for this.
Sure. I should be clear, this is done by a group called the Satanic Grotto.
Ooh.
Not affiliated with the Satanic Temple.
With Satan.
Not affiliated with the Satanic Temple or the Church of Satan. It's just an independent group doing their own thing. Okay. According to the promotional flyer they put out on their Facebook page, they just said, look, we're going to dedicate the grounds and our legislature to the glory of Satan. That's what the advertisement says. We will be performing rites to the Black Mass and indulging in sacrilegious blaspheme. God will fall and Kansas will be embraced by the black flame of Lucifer.
Well, that's dramatic.
Good for you. Have fun, guys, right?
Yeah, go nuts.
Now, the thing about black masses is every time people say they're going to do them, every time Satanists say they're going to do them, it gets controversial for the same reason when the Satanic Temple dares to exist.
Right.
It becomes a local controversy. So in 2014, a group was doing one in Oklahoma City. It attracted hundreds of protesters. There you go. In Harvard in 2014, there was a protest there too. They had to be moved off campus because of pressure from outside groups. In 2020, there was one that was going to be in Virginia, and Catholic leaders went ballistic because they thought they were committing theft. And I'll get to that one later because that has
theft?
Yeah, more on that in a second. But
Like their IP?
lots of things. So it's kind of bizarre how all these people seem to be threatened by the idea of a black mass, though I will say an inversion of a Catholic mass seems like a great place to take your kids at this point. Safer for kids.
Truly.
So when they announce this, again, the easy thing to do would be to say, all right, you're trying to get attention. Let's just ignore you.
Yeah.
If no one says anything about it, you will do your little publicity stunt next Friday. 3 people will show up, and that'll be the end of it. That's what would have happened.
The Catholic Church learns nothing from the Streisand effect. Nothing.
So the Catholic bishops of Kansas, which is basically their Catholic conference in the state, they released a statement denouncing the event as anti-Catholic bigotry. And then they wrote in their press release, the Catholic bishops of Kansas ask that, first and foremost, we pray for the conversion of those taking part in this event, as well as each person's own conversion of heart during this sacred season of Lent. So they want everyone to be converted, which, you know what, whatever. You
they
say
need
whatever
the
you
numbers
want.
at this point. I understand.
But anti-Catholic bigotry is a very interesting phrase to use because at no point was this anti-Catholic. We're using the framework of a mass. And that's not they're not sacrificing and burning up a Catholic.
Yeah, these people really don't know how to pick their battles,
No.
I would say. This is a thing that, again, vis-a-vis Streisand effect, like, if you didn't say anything, it would happen, it would go away.
Turns out there's a separate group from the Catholic Church, even though they are Catholic. It's called the American Society for the Defense of Tradition, Family, and Property. It's a very right-wing cultish group. It's the TFP. And if you Google them and look for their pictures, you will find a group of people wearing like cultish red cloaks. Oh. Yeah. They have a costume and everything because they're not weird. So they announced...
we haven't dug into like cool costumes in a bit.
They
I love
said
this.
they're going to hold a rally of reparation outside the Capitol during the Black Mass to undo whatever the Satanists were doing.
I don't think Catholics should use the words reparation too much because it just draws some comparisons that they don't need.
Then the same red cloak people, they launched an online petition saying this event needs to be shut down because how dare these Satanists do anything. That one, as of yesterday night, has 40,000 signatures, which for an online petition in Kansas, not just a little bit, like that's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, here's what happened after that.
I'd be shocked if
Right
all
now,
of those
by the
were
way,
real. Yeah,
right now, today is March 20th as we're recording this.
the equinox, very
I
auspicious.
am currently at like March 6th, all right?
Oh.
This is where I am time-wise.
Okay, I'm going to stop interrupting and let you get on.
At this point, Governor Laura Kelly of Kansas, who, by the way, is a Democrat, she caves into the pressure. So what does she do? She announces, you know what we're going to do? I can't shut them down because they did get a permit and they are allowed to protest and like, you know,
First Amendment.
Stupid First Amendment. But what I can do on March 28th is to say, you know what? All groups that were going to be doing any events inside the Capitol, you just have to be outside. You can't be in the building. Oh, by the way, the Satanists are pretty much the only group that were going to be inside the building.
That's no
so
good.
Interesting. She didn't have the power to unilaterally cancel the Black Mass, but her actions did uniquely affect the Satanists. What she wrote in her press release.
Democrats aren't the bravest of people, are we?
Weirdly enough, I kind of get why the Democratic governor of Kansas would pull this stunt. What I don't get is why like Gavin Newsom is putting out anti-trans interviews with people. Okay. She wrote, as governor, I also have a duty to protect protesters' constitutional rights to freedom of speech and expression, ... Therefore, all events planned for March 28th will be moved outdoors. Again, no protests will be allowed inside the State House. Now, she puts out that statement. Do you think the Catholics responded like, thank you, you did your job?
Oh, no.
No, of course not, because they
she's
wanted
pissed
this
everyone
thing
off.
shut down,
Yeah.
not relocated 4 feet away.
Yeah.
So here's from a news article about this story. Chuck Weber, executive director of the Kansas Catholic Conference, was unimpressed with Governor Kelly's response, saying the message, quote, reeks of condescension and a willful ignorance about what is scheduled to happen. Make no mistake, a vile and despicable satanic worship ritual has been approved to take place on the grounds of the Kansas State Capitol, the People's House. Moving it from the living room to the front porch changes nothing. Where is the condemnation of this provocative expression of hatred and anti-Catholic bigotry?
That gave me such a headache.
Dude, these people are so much more upset
Oh my
about
God.
Satanists doing their own thing than they ever get when Catholic priests are found to sexually abuse children.
I'm so tired.
We haven't even
God,
started
okay,
yet.
yeah.
Because then
Oh, boy.
we're getting to like a week ago now. Archbishop Joseph Naumann,
Okay.
Archbishop, like head of this whole diocese.
Yeah.
I
Nailed it.
don't know
Got
the
it in
word,
one.
sure. He filed a lawsuit saying the Satanists have stolen consecrated communion wafers for use in their black mass, which is a very specific claim that you stole the material that you plan to use in your mass. How do they know that?
How do they know that?
Do they have videotape evidence of like a Satanist going to a church and like stealing communion wafers?
I mean, is it just a thing somebody made up?
Yes.
Yeah.
So how did he
Sorry
get this?
I cut off your fun bit, but...
No, it's okay. I looked for this lawsuit in every article about this I could find. Not a single outlet linked to the lawsuit. I got a hold of the lawsuit, finally. And I read through the lawsuit. And I'm like, what evidence do you have? You're going to court saying these people stole my goods.
Why is a lawsuit the way to go? Why wouldn't they call the cops?
Because no crime happened. But the lawsuit alleges...
I hate to tell you this, but laws have to do with lawsuits
Listen,
also.
It's a fair question. But what the Archbishop says is that the guy who runs the Satanic Grotto, whose name is the very scary satanic name of Michael Stewart. The guy, by the way, I saw one interview with Michael Stewart on TV. A local news interviewed him. He's a guy who has like face tattoos.
Oh, sure.
Also, his name is Michael Stewart.
That's
there you
very
go. But
funny.
The lawsuit says Michael Stewart and the Grotto's vice president, they stole consecrated communion wafers to use during the Black Mass. How the allegation is based on phone conversations and
Between whom?
and posts on Reddit that made by someone using Stewart's username. Okay, so just to be clear, there is no actual evidence that anybody stole these wafers. That's part one. Yeah. Second thing, it would not be theft if someone, let's say, received a communion wafer during a service, it was put in their mouth, they did not swallow it, and they walked out the door, took the wafer out, and said, I'm going to hold on to this for later. Would it be disgusting? Sure. But would that be theft? That's not theft. They gave it to you.
For your
The
tummy.
Catholic Church gives this stuff away free of charge, but because Satanists said, we have consecrated communion wafers, the Catholic Church is saying, well, then you must have stolen it from us.
Well, okay. I don't know if that's an especially fair way to think about it. Because,
Which part?
The part of like, well, they give it away for free, so it's not stealing if you take somewhere. It's like Chili's gives away tortilla chips for free, but I can't run to the back kitchen and get a whole garbage bag of them and bring them home.
That's right. Now,
Those are different
if someone
things.
gave it to you, though, and you just
100%.
took it and you took a doggy bag home...
No, that's
Right?
fine. I just want to make sure
So-
that we're staying intellectual.
Sure.
During this
So the point
stupid
is,
story.
I would like to know, did they sneak into your building and take a bag of wafers?
Yeah.
Or what? Because I don't
Like,
know.
I don't think they make them in a house. I'm sure. Like, was there a heist of the truck that came in?
Yeah, is this like the worst Ocean's 11 remake you've ever seen? Now, it would also be ridiculously easy to buy wafers from a grocery store and pretend they're consecrated and just tell everyone, you guys, we got consecrated communion wafers.
Because here's the thing, none of it is real.
Right. It's all pretend.
It's all pretend.
So the idea that someone stole a consecrated wafer that these people believe contains the body of Jesus
But it sounds like
is
they're alleging
ridiculous.
somebody stole like a 12-pack or something of that.
12-pack of Jesus, yes. And here's the thing. So what are the Reddit posts they're referring to? Well, apparently Michael Stewart said on Reddit, in response to someone's question, like, what can I expect to see at this Black Mass? Here's what Stewart said. This one will be something special, I think. With certain limitations based on the location, we plan to lean into expressing our own personal emotions combined with some standard Black Mass imagery. Bleeding Kansas outrage, something, something. We've already secured a consecrated host. Any specifics you'd like to know? So he says we've already secured the wafer, the consecrated communion wafer.
There's just the one?
Apparently.
It's very clear I don't know what's going on.
Right. Well, neither does the Catholic Archbishop because he's like, look, this is proof he stole something from us.
Do you have a lot in common with
All
Catholic
right?
bishops?
So then there was another Reddit post they also linked to in this lawsuit where someone said, are you actually going to desecrate a host? Like, are you going to smush this communion wafer containing
Is that in the
Jesus?
Bible?
And this is what Stewart said. Oh, yes, we will actually use its desecration to manifest the link between Satan and the Capitol building. We will also destroy a Bible and tear Christ off a crucifix before smashing it.
Wow.
Which again, to me is like, all right, you're going for the shock value here. All right. Is it distasteful?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But it isn't criminal.
Yeah, but
Like, symbolic acts are not, even if they're blasphemous in your eyes, are not illegal. People might say burning the American flag is blasphemous. You shouldn't be allowed to do it. But you can. If it's your
protected.
flag,
Yeah.
that's protected speech.
it's like the last time SCOTUS did something right. So they protected flag burning.
Like, as long as this is his Bible and his crucifix and his wafer, he can do whatever the hell he wants to with them. It is legal.
America.
Yeah, that's how the First Amendment works. So then what is this lawsuit about? Because this Catholic Archbishop had no evidence anything illegal happened. What Nauman wrote at the end of the lawsuit, last paragraph where he's like, these are my claims that I am making, says this. Archbishop Nauman hereby petitions this court for an order requiring that any and all consecrated hosts, the wafers, and any amount of consecrated wine in the possession, custody, or control of the Satanists be recovered so that I can get possession of them.
So
he wants his stolen goods back.
So he wants water crackers and a box of Franzia?
Pretty much. He wants it all back because, these people stole it from me and I want it back. He wants the return of an item.
So far the evidence that any of this has happened is that he read on the internet that somebody got their hands on a consecrated host.
Just said, I have a consecrated host. Where'd you get it from? I don't know. But this guy's saying, well, then you must have stolen it from me and I want it back.
Personally, in my...
That is correct. That's how ridiculous this lawsuit is.
Honestly, like, this is such a good illustration of how Christians and Catholics think that the world just revolves around them completely.
Filed this lawsuit in state court. And then, now I'm at this past weekend, okay? Because while all this is happening, there was a Catholic church in Wichita, Kansas that got vandalized. Okay, and the Kansas Catholic Conference, the people that issued that press release a little bit ago, they said on Facebook, this is the hate crime scene at St. Patrick Catholic Church in Wichita. Long story short, they said someone forced their way in, destroyed statues, smashed glass.
Whoa.
And there was damage, and they have pictures on Facebook of the inside of this church. And they say, quote, a satanic website was scrawled on a wall. This is the face of evil. This is the same type of group that will be holding a satanic worship ritual on the grounds of the Kansas State Capitol on March 28th. So I'm looking at...
JesusSucks.edu.
I don't know. Like, I would like to know what that website is, but on the pictures they posted on Facebook of the damage inside, they curiously did not include any picture of the graffiti with the website on it.
Oh.
And you could say maybe they don't want to give it attention, but also...
But they showed pictures of the smashed...
Yes. I mean, it was vandalized.
Yeah.
Right? And so, but the idea that, well, just because your church got vandalized, which to be clear, awful, should not have happened.
Sure.
To say, well, whoever did this put a satanic thing on the wall. Therefore, it's probably the same group that's doing this black mass. That's as lazy as saying peaceful Muslims are just like Islamic extremists. Like, we're just going to say you're all in the same group.
Yeah.
You worship the same God, therefore you must be identical in all the ways I care about. So that happened. I'll come back to that story in a bit. I'm just trying to go chronologically here.
Okay.
Earlier this week, then, Kansas lawmakers got involved because they're Republican, and this is the biggest thing happening in the country right now.
Sure, nothing else is happening in Kansas.
Dozens of Republicans sponsored a resolution, a House resolution, which says the Black Mass will be a, quote, despicable, blasphemous, and offensive sacrilege to not only Catholics, but all people of goodwill, and it runs contrary to the spiritual heritage of this state and nation. They put out a whole-ass resolution denouncing the Black Mass. And it says, we call upon all Kansans to promote unity, mutual respect, and the values that uphold our identity as one nation under God. Because in this state, we all believe in God. Then we call upon Kansas Governor Laura Kelly to condemn the stated activity and its implicit use of stolen property. And notice they said implicit use of stolen property. It's implicit because there's no explicit evidence that anything was stolen. This lie that...
So they're just making shit up at this point?
And passing a whole resolution saying, how dare you people who have ideas we don't like enter the Capitol, which is meant for the public. So while Kansas voters have to deal with their right-wing representatives and a Democratic governor who accedes to their demands. And while some poor Kansas judge has to deal with this waste-of-time lawsuit, what were the Satanists doing about all this? Well, they announced, hey, if these Catholic red-caped loons are showing up at the Capitol, we're going to counter-protest them because it's our space too.
Yeah.
And they also said, interestingly enough, remember, Governor Kelly said no one's entering the building that day if you're in the protests.
Got you.
Right? And they said, well, yeah, we are. We're going to commit a peaceful act of civil disobedience, and we're going to walk into the building that day. And if you arrest us, so be it.
Yeah.
Go for it. This is our space, too. And so they announced that on Facebook, and they actually said to their members, we are committing a peaceful act of civil disobedience. This is an illegal act. We are thumbing our noses at the highest authority in our state.
Well.
You do so at your own risk.
Yeah.
So like, you might be arrested if you join us for this, but this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
They also said in a separate post to Governor Kelly, you will have to have us arrested to stop us from practicing our free speech and religious rights. Shame on you, Governor Kelly, because they want to commit good trouble, right? Okay, so here's where we're at now.
Wow.
Okay, they released the schedule for the event. The Satanists did. The schedule includes denunciation of the word, like the Bible, denunciation of Christ, desecration of the Eucharist,
Bye.
corruption of the blood. I don't actually know what that one means.
They just beer bong it.
So they put that out for everybody. And the Republicans are like, wait, you're still doing this? Well, we're going to hold a hearing about this.
Oh,
and
a hearing about your protest?
A hearing about how do we stop these Satanists from existing. The Republican Senate president called on Attorney General Chris Kobach, who was big during Trump 1 era, to do whatever Trump wanted. They said, hey, how do we stop these people from doing anything? Chris Kobach showed up at their hearing and said, well, look, if these Satanists obtained a communion wafer through theft or deception, and because they say we're going to desecrate this stolen material, that's 2 crimes right there.
What's the second crime?
Theft and destroying the thing you stole. We might be able to get them twice, so let's be on the lookout for that.
Wow, these guys are real Keystone Cops around here, huh?
The lawmakers also said, hey, maybe we can get the Kansas Highway Patrol to put a stop to their black mass. Let's get the government...
Is there nothing else going on? Is this why
Nothing.
the BTK killer was out for like 30 years?
Yeah,
it's because
they're all spending their time on this.
you guys, so many people died. Dennis Rader is a bad dude.
It is batshit insane for government officials to even suggest, hey, maybe law enforcement can shut down a peaceful protest. What do we think about that?
I'm sorry.
Do you understand why I went down this rabbit hole? Every single time I'm like, well, okay, we're done with this. Oh, no, here's another thing crazy
Just
people
everybody's
in power
going to
do.
keep doubling down until we all burn.
The same Republicans in that committee changed the rules for who can now access meeting space in the Capitol. And one of them says, you're not allowed to get a permit for gathering in the Capitol if you have stated explicitly that the meeting or gathering will involve a violation of law.
So now they're just making up shit?
Yeah, and it doesn't even apply to the Satanists because
they've done nothing
they've done nothing
wrong.
As far as anyone knows, there's no evidence of any crime being committed.
This is absolutely insane.
Right?
Oh my God.
So,
okay. Keep
again,
going.
just to summarize, these people have no idea where the consecrated wafers came from. They're jumping to the conclusion that he stole it from a church. Republicans have changed policies and passed a resolution under the assumption they stole this stuff from a church. The Catholic Archbishop has filed a lawsuit under the assumption, right? Because went to court and said, get back my property, judge. I want my wine back. I want my communion wafers back. I want the 12-pack of Jesus back. Everyone's running off the assumption that the Satanists only have consecrated wafers because they stole it from the Catholic Church. And
that's just made up.
All of this is made up. They have no evidence of this. And for what it's worth, earlier this week when a reporter said, hey, did you steal this shit? He said, no. And then he said to the reporter, Michael Stewart,
Yeah.
I find it very entertaining that he is convinced, like the Archbishop, that I have Jesus trapped in a cracker and that he would take it to court.
You know what this feels like? It's like those embryo lawsuits, right? Of like, that's my baby. And it's like, well, it's an embryo. It's an embryo.
It's not a thing.
It's nothing.
So last night, after all this, after I finally catch up on everything, I talked to Michael Stewart.
Oh, you did?
We spent a long time discussing what the hell is
Were
going
you
on
like
here.
cry laughing together?
100%.
Yeah, yay.
And so I asked him a few questions. First of all, dude, where'd you get the wafers from?
Thank you.
Right?
The only question I've been wondering.
He
And
literally said at some point, we've been trying to say this for days now. Like, we've been trying to get this answer out.
Funny.
And like,
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Because it's not about whatever. it's just become its own little thing anymore.
So he answered the question for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, did you steal them from a church? Nope. So then, like, where did you get consecrated wafers from? The answer?
The internet.
Amazon. And he sent me the receipt. They bought communion hosts, basically plain wafers, made for the Catholic Church, essentially. And then the question comes up, well, then how did you said they were consecrated wafers, which means...
It's like, I consecrated them. Who fucking cares?
That's fucking right.
Yeah, he did!
That's right. Because
Stewart.
he said, yeah, I said they were consecrated because I made them consecrated. Like, I'm not following the Catholic Church's rule of if the bishop does it or the priest does it, then it's consecrated. That's your definition.
I cannot believe how good this story is. You're going to get a Pulitzer for this.
As I deserve. He just fucking opened the bag of Amazon crackers and he's like, Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. They're consecrated now. And so therefore, when he says on Reddit, I have consecrated communion wafers, I have consecrated hosts, is he lying?
Oh my
No,
God.
he's just not playing by the Catholic Church's definition of the word.
Oh,
I want to
didn't know
remind
this
you.
podcast could still make me happy.
I remind you, there is a lawsuit in court saying he stole from the church.
How much do you think this is costing
The funniest
the good
thing.
state of Kansas?
It's money from the Catholic Church. Glad they're wasting
fair
it on
enough,
this.
fair enough.
By the way,
But if he filed a lawsuit, that
costs money.
costs money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funniest thing is, Stewart told me, if the Archbishop just asked me where I got the wafers from, I would have told him, but he never asked.
Well, he was a sleuth. He was a web sleuth.
So then I asked,
Citizen detective.
after I finished laughing for 30 minutes, who vandalized the church? What was that all about?
Nothing
Right?
to do with him.
And that's right. And he said, first of all, that has nothing to do with me. We actually do have a Wichita chapter, he said, but he talked to them too.
Wait.
He's like, this is none of our people, right? Because that would be horrible. And,
Oh, wait, that's
yeah.
not even the same city? Wait, what's it?
Right.
Wichita is not the capital?
Wichita is not the capital, if you remember your second grade.
What is it?
Topeka?
Topeka.
Right? Anyway, he said, I talked to our Wichita chapter. They didn't know what the hell this was about. And then he joked with me like, everyone's in their 30s and 40s. We don't have time to vandalize
Honestly,
a church.
Like, that's the funny thing about all of this stuff is like the Catholic Church takes it so seriously and nobody else does. So
Right.
it's so easy to goof on the square because it's just like anything you say, they take to heart.
Yeah. And then I'm like, well, do you know who did it? He's like, oh, yeah, they caught the guy. I'm like, what? Because I read what the Catholic Church put out there and they were accusing
They
you
blamed
guys
you.
of doing it. He's like, literally, and I followed up on this, this happened on a Saturday. The vandalism happened on a Saturday morning. By Sunday morning, the Wichita Police Department had already arrested a suspect. And long story short, what they said is, we got critical intelligence that told them, we think we know who this is. They didn't elaborate on that, but they were able to find the suspect and they arrested the suspect. A different media outlet released the suspect's name. It turns out this is a guy who literally just got out of prison a week ago, and he had been in prison because
For
of
vandalism.
vandalism of something else.
Can't stop, won't stop, baby.
The point is, this guy has no connection to anything.
No, he's
none
just
of these
got that
satanic
rise and
groups.
grind set.
I'm like, well, then why did he put a satanic URL on the wall somewhere? And what Michael Stewart told me is he may have just wanted to get people off the scent, basically, trying
Yeah.
to pin it on somebody else.
Well, and it sounds like
But-
he is a criminal mastermind after
But
all.
also, we don't know what the URL was. And it's very telling from the church's Facebook post that if the URL said like thesatanicgrotto.com or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
okay, very interesting. We don't even know. Maybe it just said like Satan.com. We don't know what it said, so there's no reason to connect the dots there, right?
Oh my God.
I looked, so I'm like, wait, they caught this guy on Sunday. Well, did the Kansas Catholic Conference even say, hey, they caught the guy and it wasn't the satanic group
course
we
not.
accused earlier? I went back through their posts on Facebook. I want you to look at this. This
Ooh,
is,
I'm getting
I'm showing
called
you a
over,
picture
guys.
here. The first picture is what they posted on Facebook, which is the original post with the pictures of the crime.
Yep.
And then right above it, like chronologically, the next post they made, an update. And it's a link to a news article that the vandal was caught. There is no explanation that, hey, you know all that stuff we said earlier about the dude being connected to the satanic
Well,
black
no,
mass?
they can't apologize.
Nothing at all. Okay.
Don't you think the world would be better if people could just admit they were wrong sometimes?
Maybe.
What do you mean, maybe?
Nah. There would be
Literally,
no
like,
fun in that.
Yeah, but everybody, like this kind of shit of like people just double down over and over and over and over again instead of saying like, oh, yep, you're right. I stole money from you. Instead, they're like, well, I stole money from you. Now I'm going to kill you because you're asking too much. Like, just say sorry.
Wild.
Just
Okay,
say no.
last question I had for Michael Stewart.
Yep.
Why are you guys doing this at all? Like, what is the Black Mass was scheduled, but like I go back, I'm like, I don't even know why you scheduled it. Like everything I've been talking
To
about
goof on the squares,
Everything I've been talking about is a reaction to the Black Mass. But
Mm.
like, why are you all even doing the Black Mass? And he said, the story he told me is he's been in the Capitol several times for other reasons, and he always sees those anti-abortion protesters, and they're holding up their pictures of like mauled fetuses, exaggerating how abortion actually works, demonizing the procedure.
Is there anybody less helpful than those
Right?
people?
And he says, the thing is, they have a right to be in the Capitol because they applied for a permit and they received it, and they know who their audience is. It's the lawmakers, and they're like, these anti-abortion zealots, they want to make everyone uncomfortable,
Yeah.
and they're doing it because they want to advance their agenda.
Yeah.
And he's like, you know what? That's actually a good use of this space. How come they're the only ones who are making people uncomfortable to advance their cause? We can make people uncomfortable too.
That's really funny.
In order to say whatever it is, like we have something to say about Christian nationalism.
Yeah.
We don't like when religion interferes in the government, and we want to push back. And you know what? We're going to use our beliefs to
Right.
make you uncomfortable. And if you don't like it, well, guess what? We don't like it when you shove Christianity down our throats either.
Yeah.
And then he added, and this very genuinely, the Black Mass is not just. He didn't say this, I'm saying this.
Okay.
It's not just a publicity stunt. He said these types of rituals are a way to work through our own traumas. So when we tear up pages from our Bibles, these are pages that have been used to harm us and subjugate us. It is cathartic to be able to do this stuff to the weapons that have been used against us. The blasphemy. shows that these rituals, the wafer, the words,
They hold no power
they have
here.
no power over us. And even said there was a sermon of sorts that was going to be delivered during the service, a satanic liturgy, if you will. And he said that would actually explain in detail how Christianity has let them down and hurt them.
Wow.
And he actually wrote a piece for the Kansas City Star that they published saying all of this. He explained now more than ever, we should be challenging what is considered normal and protecting those that are different. To the Archdiocese and our fine Kansas legislature, we thank you. Your actions have highlighted the religious hypocrisy rampant in our state government, as well as the unconstitutional treatment of differing religions and beliefs. If the Catholics can do this to Satanists now, what's going to stop them from targeting Protestants or Baptists next? On March 28th, we will enter the Kansas Capitol and perform the Black Mass according to our original permit. We acknowledge it violates the new permit, which says you can't go inside, and there might be consequences. But we're going to do this because that's what we believe in.
Yeah.
And the fact is, the way the Kansas officials are destroying the First Amendment, that is way worse than anything these Satanists plan to do to a wafer. So that's where we're at right now. He actually said, I was like, are you worried about getting arrested and stuff? And he said, maybe some of us need to risk getting arrested right now.
Yeah, I feel like if I was in his position, I would be one of those assholes who's like, yeah, fuck her. Like, arrest me. I dare you. When I'm 70, I want to say that I got arrested doing a satanic mass in the Kansas state legislature.
And then before I came to record this podcast right now, I got an update from Michael because he had to show up in court today for that lawsuit.
It went to court?
Yeah, I mean, they filed it in court. There was a hearing today, and what he told me is, yeah, all the charges against us have been dismissed.
Really?
Yep.
So he just, had to take a day off work?
I'm very curious what the Catholic Church said, what the judge said, but basically, I guess you didn't steal this shit.
So funny.
That's where we're at right now, and all of this is a week before the Black Mass even happens.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Can you tell how I went down this rabbit hole all day?
Yeah,
every day?
that's quite a story. I would
Good
love
times.
to hear like a sum total of how much money that cost. Just like
It
how much
cost me a lot because this is all I did yesterday.
Yeah, but Hemant, your time isn't worth anything.
Thank you. The amount of time legislators went into
that's what I'm saying.
stopping
Like the
this.
amount of time and money that's been
Forget the
sucked
lawsuit.
into this
I
black
mean-
hole of nothing.
Yeah.
It's such a shame. I always think it's really interesting when people are shocked that other human beings require the same things they do.
You want space to exhibit your beliefs?
I'm just
What?
ooh, Satan, oh, it's so weird. But I go to church every Sunday because I need the ritual and yada, yada, yada. And so it's real to me. But whatever you're doing is gross. Or just like this idea of like, why do you need vacation time? Like, if I don't get to Mallorca once a year, I'm exhausted. Like they truly do not see the humanity in people who aren't them, which is, I don't have to tell you, pretty dangerous.
So that's all we have time for today.
Yeah, right.
No,
I also, really quick, I've been thinking about this a lot, about the way conservatives and liberal people tend to see the world. And basically what they used as an example was like, say there's a man who likes to have sex with watermelons in his house.
That's very specific.
Very specific. Liberals would be like, that's weird, but it's not hurting anybody. So like, whatever, that's fine. Whereas conservatives are like, oh, that's weird. He shouldn't be doing that. We need to stop him from doing that. And I feel like
Followed by what was the watermelon wearing?
Well, fair enough. But just the idea of there's a distinct live and let live atmosphere that most like chill people have. And then conservatives, just the idea of anything anywhere not aligning with their worldview is...
They can't handle
They
it.
can't deal with it. And I just think that's an interesting kind of way to break it down. Anyway, That's just something I've been thinking about lately.
So here's a totally different story, but this
Thank
one
God, that's
probably more
40 minutes.
but more consequential maybe. Okay, there's a city in Massachusetts, Quincy, and they are in the process of building a brand new public safety headquarters, which is going to house their police department and the administrative offices for the fire department and emergency management. And it's scheduled to open this fall. It's been in the work for years.
Okay.
The total cost of this building, $175 million.
Okay.
But again, it went through the processes. It got approved by whoever needed to approve it. Okay. Recently, there was an update to the blueprint that was never presented to city council members when they were approving funding for this project between, by the way, 2017 and 2022. 5 years they went through, okay, we approve like X amount of dollars for this project. Oh, we need a little more. We'll approve that overrun, whatever.
Yeah.
They did this for over 5 years. And recently there was an update. They're like, we were never told about this. And the update is that the entrance to this building will have 2 10-foot tall bronze statues of Catholic saints.
I just text my Kate, who helps me with the year in review thing, and Jeremy, my 2 friends who live in Boston. I said, yeah, Quincy just came up on the podcast, and Kate responded, police station statues?
There you go.
Yep, she got it.
So these statues are of Saint Michael the Archangel and Saint Florian. And these are the patron saints of police and firefighters if you're Catholic and believe in such things. Mm-hmm. The cost of these statues, $850,000.
Are they cast in gold?
Bronze.
Yeah, bronze, I don't think is an especially expensive.
So the Saint Michael statue.
Like, I believe money for art and all that stuff, but a cool mill for a statue?
2 statues.
Wow.
2. Come on.
Steal at twice the price.
Yeah. Not only are these statues religious icons that have no business in a government facility, much less for nearly $1 million, they were actually approved by the mayor, Thomas Koch, with no feedback from anybody. And when the counselors were like, hey, what's this line item on the budget here? He said, well, large projects like this, the building, they sometimes evolve. And the idea just wasn't on the table when you all cast your votes for the building and the amounts. You revise. That's how blueprints work. Not a big deal.
I'm going to interrupt really quickly again. Koch is not how you say it.
Koch?
I don't know. She's texting me. She said, how did you pronounce Koch? And I said Coke, and she said, oh, Jess. So I don't know. Correct.
I'll call him Thomas. Anyway, so now this guy is trying to argue that these 2 statues have a secular purpose. He said the saints add interest and they connect to the uses of the building. And that, hey, Saint Michael is a figure common to Christianity and Islam and Judaism because they appear in the Old Testament or something. I don't know.
When I'm a city planner or a mayor or whatever, every fucking building's going to have horses in front of it because horses are how we got to where we are today. And it's Quincy.
Quincy?
Quincy.
Interesting.
Thank you. I can't believe my friends from Boston are being really precious about how you pronounce things.
Well played.
Thank you.
Thomas, the mayor, is also a devout Catholic, coincidentally, I'm sure. But his basic argument is, yeah, sure, this is my religion. But you guys, these are totally secular. Give me $1 million so I can get these statues. He even hired a well-known sculptor to make these things, which means there was no bidding process to make these statues. So it's just wasting taxpayer money and a lot of it. And here's what makes it even worse somehow. The statue of Saint Michael, the one who represents, he's the patron saint of police, not only does it show a winged angel with the sword in his hand, he's stepping on the neck of a demon in the statue. That's the famous statue. He's stepping on the neck of a demon.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And if you're the police, I'm not sure
that's not
the
a good
guy
visual.
Stepping on the neck of a supposed bad guy is really the image you want.
Yeah, it's
post George Floyd.
Literally stepping on his neck. Are you if he was kneeling on his neck, I'd be like, guys, are you fucking guys, are you out of your mind? Do you have how can you be a Boston area police department and not have the slightest understanding,
no self-awareness
of the historic racism of the Boston Police Department?
So one of the city council members, his name is Dan Minton, he posted on Facebook that he's not in favor of this. even though it's going through anyway. And he said, although this may provide spiritual comfort to some officers, religion aside, the image of the angel brandishing a sword or spear to the devil to ward off evil may not translate to contemporary times. Although it's only a statue, the violent image is not the way police officers conduct themselves, ... It made me think of brutal force. And I don't want citizens to connect this statue with the way our officers treat anyone.
Right.
He also pointed out, generally, people don't want to enter a police station. It is usually something bad that has happened, ranging from an act of violence to a simple parking ticket. The statue may not be a welcoming presence to someone already ill at ease. And that's not even getting into the constitutionality of any of this. He's like, I'm not sure this is the image you want to put forth of our police department, of a dude holding a sword and stepping on the neck of someone else.
Like, you guys.
So now, that's just the optics of this. It's not great.
Yeah.
It costs a lot of money. You didn't ask us about this. It's not a good look for the cops.
Right.
What the hell are we doing? But there's also a church-state separation element to all this. So the ACLU of Massachusetts has gotten involved. They say these statues violate the constitutions of the state and the United States. They say the purpose of the statues is plainly religious. Saints are specific to certain sects of Christianity. They are neither ubiquitous nor secular. A Boston Globe columnist also pointed out, it's one thing for a police officer to choose to carry around a medal that her faith says will offer divine protection. It's entirely another to erect 2 giant effigies outside a public building that will be used by people of all faiths or of no faith at all.
What was the other one? The one is stepping on the neck. What's the other one?
That's
Just the
one.
firefighter.
The other one is Saint Florian, who is the patron saint of firefighters, whose image is dude in armor, angel in armor, with a bucket putting out like water on a building, pouring out water.
They should put a Mothman statue up instead.
Would anyone know the difference if you did that and just said
No,
these are
I
all
would
angels,
absolutely
flying
love that.
creatures, right?
What a great prank we can pull. You guys, don't tell anybody. We're going to call Boston.
Do you got $500,000 sitting around?
Yeah.
Listen,
yeah.
go to
That's why I do this
patreon.com.
stupid fucking
We have
podcast
a new
every
goal.
week. Because working as a freelance writer for a medical association is such a lucrative gig right now, Hemmett.
Save
That's why
up,
I have
get your statue. There you go.
$500,000 extra.
There you go. So the Mayor Thomas, he has responded to all this criticism. And when a city councilor said, hey, what about they asked the mayor's chief of staff, what about people who oppose the statues? What should they do? Basically, go pound sand. This is what the chief of staff said. Wait for the beautiful public artwork to appear on these buildings and enjoy it with the rest of the public. The decision has been made.
Wow.
But if this leads to a lawsuit, we'll see. Freedom from Religion Foundation and Americans United for Separation of Church and State have now also written letters on behalf of Quincy residents who have problems with these statues. And they're suggesting that if you keep going with this, we may file a lawsuit against it. Possibly.
According to Kate, apparently her whole family, which is hella Catholic, shocking, really mad about this. One of the city councilors and a former police lieutenant is speaking out loudly against it. They canceled a city council meeting recently saying, quote, there's nothing to talk about. And people were pissed. And then she said, check out the raise Coke tried to give himself last year. It is Coke. We were correct on that
Damn
one.
right I was.
Look up.
Yeah, he did try to give himself a raise, and I believe,
nice
got
one?
it. Uh-huh.
I want a raise.
That dude makes a lot of money.
Patreon.com/friendlyatheist podcast.
Now,
Give
if you
Jessica
want the
a
real
raise.
money, go
Coke raise.
be mayor of a small town with 850 million. No, what was it? 175?
79% raise?
I mean, get the grift while it's good.
What the fuck? I am in the... I thought this was a racket.
You mean our merch store isn't bringing in? No, man.
that extra
Mayor
75
of a
bucks
town where city councilors don't know how to stop you. I mean, Republicans learn a lot.
Don't you think? I know I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like the line between being wealthy and not being wealthy is just having morals. Like truly, I could
If
write a
you
book.
have no shame and don't care about anyone, it's amazing how rich you can get.
I could write a book over the weekend about how atheism sucks and Christ is the way, and I would be a millionaire.
Oh, screw that work. Just start selling crypto I mean, there's easier ways to take advantage of
It
people.
really bums me out how making money has become so disconnected from creating value. And boy, that fucking sucks. Also, thank you, everybody. When Hooters filed for bankruptcy, a lot of thoughts and prayers came my way, and I do appreciate it. Mine is still open. I haven't had to yell at any dudes recently, but you know how it is.
Thank you.
I'm always my head's on a swivel.
I was
So many people reached out. It was kind of
so
embarrassing.
many, because I get those emails too. And I'm like, Jess, this one's for you. I was putting together the notes for this show, and I'm like, oh, we already did a discussion last week about the Christian guy who got arrested for child predatory behavior. And I realized, oh, no, wait, I'm sorry,
Different
this
one?
is a different one.
Oh, no.
And normally we skip them because they're a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
This one is important.
You know what I was thinking about last night when I couldn't fall asleep is I should take all of those stories that you get and you're like, yeah, I can't cover everyone, and just do like when they used to do COVID numbers, do a daily announcement of like, hey, 18 priests were arrested for molesting children. Here are their, and just a nightly update.
Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. And then I'll make everybody go outside and take a little walk.
So this story involves a guy named Robert Morris, who is a megachurch pastor. And in the summer of 2016, when Trump was trying to convince conservative Christians to support his presidential campaign, one of the ways he's like, yeah, I know I don't do any of the stuff you people like, but you should still support me. One of the ways he got into their good graces is he released a list of his evangelical executive advisory board. And it was a collection of mostly white, mostly male Christians who would be guiding him in the months ahead. And that list included, at the time, James Dobson, Jerry Falwell Jr., Ralph Reed. And it included this guy, Robert Morris, who is the senior pastor of Gateway Church in Dallas, Texas. All that's to say, this is not some random dude. This is a guy who not only runs a megachurch, founded a megachurch, he's a guy famous enough that Trump included him as a way of signaling to white evangelicals, look, I got this guy advising me, you should give me your vote.
Yeah.
This Robert Morris is also a guy who has said in the past, prayers can cure infertility.
Oh.
He has said it's
Is that
scientifically...
why I don't have any children?
That's right. He said it's scientifically impossible to be an atheist. He claims...
Boy, a lot of my lived experiences have been invalidated.
He says trans people are a threat to kids. In fact, in 2017, Texas Governor Greg Abbott tapped this guy to help him oppose the bathroom bills that allowed trans people to use the right bathrooms, in part because Morris said it would allow children to be sexually abused. And we can't have that happen.
It would allow children to be sexually abused.
If we let trans people use the right bathrooms, kids will get abused, and we need to stop that. And by the way, in 2019, this guy was such a part of the Trump orbit that there was a famous picture of all these white evangelicals praying over Trump, putting their hands on his shoulders.
God, yeah.
Those pictures, you could see Robert Morris in the background as one of these people praying for him in the picture. And in 2020, as he was running for re-election, Trump actually visited Robert Morris's church, Gateway Church in Texas, for an event on race relations and the economy. And during that event, he literally thanked Robert Morris by name, and he thanked other church members as well, saying these are, quote, great people with a great reputation. Okay. So that's who Robert Morris is. Okay. And the reason he amassed that sort of power that allowed him to be that close to the president is because apparently he hid his own actions for years. And we talked about this, but it's been a long time. What we learned in recent years is that back when Morris was younger, in his 20s, he was a traveling evangelist.
And this is different from the guitar guy, right?
That's
who we
yes,
talked
guitar
about
guy
last
from
week.
Liberty University that we talked about last week. That's a different dude.
I just want to make sure.
They're all in the same orbit.
What?
Yeah, but Robert Morris, in 1981, he was a traveling evangelist. At the time, he had a wife and kid, I think. But he's traveling around, spreading the gospel. He visited Tulsa. And he
the Paris of Oklahoma.
There you go. He met a family with an 11-year-old daughter named Cindy, and I'm naming her because she's gone public with this. And so Morris and his wife and his son, they all stayed at Cindy's home as like a base, and he traveled and did his thing. So they all got very close. This is where if you don't want to hear this, forward along. So just skip ahead to the next story. On Christmas Day, 1982,
What?
he allegedly invited Cindy to come to his bedroom, and he proceeded to touch her beneath her clothing. She alleged that he said to her, quote, "Never tell anyone about this because it will ruin everything." And she didn't know any better. She was 11. And part of the reason he was able to get away with this and get so much alone time with the child is by telling his wife he was counseling the little girl. And this behavior continued through 1987. 5 years.
Oh, my God.
At one point, though, Cindy tells a friend what happened, what is happening.
How old? She have
In
been?
her teens at this point, and the news gets back to her own father. And the father...
Oh, no.
No, it's okay. The father's demanding that Robert Morris get out of the ministry. Like, I'm going to come after you. You need to stop doing whatever the hell you're doing. Yes, get out of my house, but get out of the ministry. And Morris ends up stepping down for 2 years, moves, goes somewhere else. When he finally
Finds
returns,
a younger victim.
When he finally returns to preaching 2 years later, he begins the church that would soon grow into Gateway Church, his megachurch in Texas. It wasn't until Cindy grew up a lot more and realized the extent to which she had been abused. And in 2005, so 20 plus years after all this happened, she files a civil lawsuit. She gets an attorney to file a civil lawsuit. Robert Morris's attorney responds by saying, "It was your fault because you were flirtatious." She apparently asked for $50,000, which I don't think is much, to settle this case. And the response from Robert Morris's camp is, "We'll give you $25,000, but only if you sign a non-disclosure agreement." She said, "No."
Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. And that's why she's gone public with her story. Interestingly enough, there was also an argument that the statute of limitations had passed, so she can't do anything against this guy. Now, interestingly enough, by the way, just to state the obvious, Robert Morris's attorney blamed a child for what Morris did to her. No, I think she was 12 at the time. No 12-year-old girl can legally consent to sex. She was not flirting with him. Okay. There is one of the books
And
that
also,
Robert...
even if she was
She's 12.
she's 12. Girls like kids like the attention of adults.
Yeah, and I don't know what the hell she was doing. Clearly, the answer is nothing that justified anything, so whatever. So in one of Robert Morris's books, he actually wrote that, when I was a younger man, I stepped down from ministry for a couple of years, like in my mid-20s. Interesting. Yes, we know you did. He also...
Why did he say he did
According
that?
to the book, Robert Morris wrote, "God told me to take time away from the pulpit to deal with my pride." He was too arrogant. He needed to think about others.
Too arrogant?
I don't know.
What does arrogance have to do with
He lied in his book about why he was
molesting?
He lied about the gap
young...
in his resume,
Sure.
right? So when a reporter from the Christian Post,
it's just backpacking around Europe.
When a reporter from the Christian Post asked Morris for comment about the allegations, the church responded with a confession, like, all right, he did some stuff, but they also acted like it was no big deal. This is from the Christian Post. Quote from Robert Morris. "When I was in my early 20s, I was involved in inappropriate sexual behavior with a young lady in a home when I was staying. It was kissing and petting and not intercourse, but it was wrong. This behavior happened on several occasions over the next few years." That's the full quotation from Robert Morris.
That's all you had to say?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. He did go on to say, in March of 1987, this situation was brought to light and it was confessed and repented of. Very passive.
Passive.
Yeah. "I submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church." Apt name.
Come on, guys.
That became Gateway Church. "But I submitted myself to the elders of Shady Grove Church and the young lady's father. They asked me to step out of ministry and receive counseling and freedom ministry, which I did."
Freedom ministry.
Yeah.
Go
Since
fuck
that
yourself.
time,
Yeah.
I have walked in purity and accountability in this area. Since I allegedly assaulted a child,
For
I've been pure.
years
I've been pure, you
on
guys.
end. Like an 11
And the last thing Robert Morris says to the Christian Post reporter at the time, speaking of the family, Cindy's family, "I asked their forgiveness and they graciously forgave me."
Oh my God, that's so generous
Yes.
of them collectively.
To be clear, she was not a young lady. She was 12.
She's a child.
It wasn't inappropriate. It was criminal. It wasn't just kissing and petting because according to Cindy, Morris, quote, touched every part of my body and inserted his fingers into me. And by the way, Cindy's father did not give him his blessings. This is what Cindy said to the same reporter. My father never, ever gave his blessing on Robert returning to ministry. My father told him he's lucky he didn't kill him. They said we forgave in the sense of we're Christians, so we have to forgive. That doesn't mean whatever you're implying it means, right? Doesn't mean he's supposed to go on without repercussions.
How are the atheists the bad guys? How do they spin this?
Remember, there's a lawsuit against the Satanists and the Black Mass. Anyway, Gateway Church added, Pastor Robert has been open and forthright about a moral failure he had over 35 years ago when he was in his 20s and prior to him starting Gateway Church. He has shared publicly from the pulpit the proper biblical steps he took in his lengthy restoration process. Like, it wasn't a moral failure. It was a criminal sexual assault.
What support did they offer her?
He did not share publicly from the pulpit why he needed restoration. And the fact that it happened 35 years ago is irrelevant because no one knew it happened until she told her side of the story.
Do you think this is a manipulation of sort of the Christian, like, a sin is a sin is a sin thing? Of, like, if you steal a piece of gum and
that's a sin and you need to repent, but also if you assault a child,
also
same
a
thing.
sin,
Yep.
1 for 1.
And by the way, the church also added, since the resolution of this 35-year-old matter, there have been no other moral failures
That have come to light.
Yeah, and I'm like, how do you know?
That's pretty confident. Catholic Church, Church, Christian Church.
It's a non-denominational Protestant church. If church leadership said, and they actually said this, the matter has been properly disclosed to church leadership. Basically saying, this guy told us everything that happened. We have dealt with him. We like that he is the head of our church. Like, we've forgiven this guy.
We're willing to take the lumps for having him.
But the thing is, if church leadership knew about what he did, what does it say about them that the congregation was never told Morris was a child sex predator?
It says that they're bad people and they knew they were doing a bad thing and they were keeping it from their people.
There was no accountability.
No,
so
they don't care.
The thing is, when this story first broke about a year ago, maybe 2, no, I lied. Last summer, when this story broke, he was still the senior pastor of Gateway Church. He wasn't facing any punishments.
This story broke last year?
Yes.
Okay.
He was not facing any punishments from the church, much less any criminal charges. But after the story began spreading, and it did, because, again, Trump pastor turns out to be child sex predator, that spreads. He quickly resigned, and the church elders promised to conduct a review of past abuse. And they even hired an outside law firm to do it.
Wow, so
And they
brave.
said, listen, we didn't realize how old she was, and we didn't know how long this had been going on.
Oh, they just sort of took one little piece of information and we're like, oh yeah, that's all we need to know. This is clearly a good man of God.
It sounds like the church elders were saying, Robert Morris told us he did a bad thing when he was younger, so we forgave him. We didn't realize this is what he did, and we didn't ask him about it, and we only learned about it because we read about it in the news. So this investigation, actually, this is where the last time I thought about this guy was a year ago, and I actually didn't follow what the investigation did happen. They released a statement, and when the investigation came out, it actually led to the removal of multiple church elders who actually did know what this guy did, but did not take action. There were a few elders who literally did not know any of this was going on.
Okay.
And they are still, as far as I know, still on the church's leadership team. But the ones who did, who knew about the allegations before they became public, they were basically removed from church leadership. Okay, so that's some consequence.
It's the consequences of your action.
That's something. But that was it. Like, what about the criminal allegations against this guy, right? What was interesting now, and this is why this seemed to come out of nowhere recently, is that as this is all happening in Texas, the guy has resigned, but what consequences is Robert Morris facing? Well, the abuse against Cindy, that happened in Oklahoma. And that means the Attorney General of Oklahoma, Gentner Drummond, the guy who's surprisingly pro-church state separation, he's like, well, this happened in my state. And guess what?
What?
The statute of limitations is not applicable in this case.
Why?
Because Robert Morris was not a resident or inhabitant of Oklahoma at the time. And apparently that means we can go ahead and go after this guy. I don't know what the rule is.
The jingoism of that doesn't feel great, but okay.
I mean, he said I'm in Texas. The statute of limitations means you can't come after me.
I understand. Of the law itself.
I don't know.
If you come into our come into our state, the laws don't apply to you.
But apparently, recently, the Attorney General convened a grand jury to hear this case. And for 2 days, they heard testimony in secret. And the grand jury, a multi-county grand jury, indicted Robert Morris on 5 counts.
Wow.
Specifically what they say, and I read through the indictment, like count 1, Christmas 1982, he touched the breasts and vaginal area of the victim. 2 days later, count number 2, he removed the girl's clothes and looked at her breasts and vaginal area in a lewd or lascivious manner. Count 3, sometime between January of 83 and later January 1983, Morris touched the girl's breasts and vaginal area in a lewd or lascivious manner. Count 4, sometime over the next 2 years, he touched those areas while parked in a car. Count 5, sometime in the 2 years until 1985, he touched those areas by, quote, removing her clothing and rubbing his body, including his penis, covered by his clothing, against her body, including her leg, while parked in a car. Those are the 5 counts. The jury said, yeah, you can go after this guy. And as of now, Robert Morris has submitted to getting arrested. He has been arrested. And there we go. We'll see now what happens in a courtroom because this, again, Donald Trump was charged by a grand jury of felonies. Does it mean anything's going to happen? Who knows? But Robert Morris is not Trump.
Laws don't mean anything anymore.
Laws don't mean anything.
Yeah, that's true. Robert Morris does not have Trump's clout.
Cindy is now 54. She is a grandmother. She actually told the Christian Post this week, quote, after almost 43 years, the law has finally caught up with Robert Morris for the horrific crimes he committed against me as a child. My family and I are deeply grateful to the authorities who have worked tirelessly to make this day possible and remain hopeful that justice will ultimately prevail. So, for what it's worth, the charge that he was indicted on 5 charges, each of those charges can be punished with up to 20 years in prison. Now, as far as I know, this guy doesn't have a criminal history.
Yeah.
He's not going to go to jail for 100 years, but he is older. So it is possible he could still go to jail for life. Or he gets nothing because that's what happens to a lot of these guys. I don't know.
Well,
incidentally.
And either way, he's gotten, 40 good years that he didn't deserve.
Right. Incidentally, Morris and his lawyers, the funny thing is I came across a headline involving Robert Morris and a courtroom, and I'm like, oh, this is about something else.
Yeah.
He was in the news about a lawsuit literally a week ago, and it's not about this story.
What?
And this is a side tangential thing.
Okay.
He was in court asking the judge to dismiss a lawsuit because former church members had sued him saying, he told us in multiple sermons that if you don't like the way your tithe money is being sent, I will give you a money-back guarantee. And they were like, we want our damn money back. And he's like, no. And so they went to court to try to get that money back because they said, you lied to us and you took our tithe money.
That is
just totally random.
That is one of the wildest things I've ever heard.
The money back guarantee.
Yes.
Some churches love doing that. It gets attention.
Wait, that's a thing? Churches
Some
do?
conservative
They're not at
megachurches.
Kmart in 1998.
Yeah.
Shouldn't they just be like, God lives here?
I think they're just like, if I say, hey, we want you to tithe, give us access to your bank account, we'll just take it from your account every week. And if you're not happy with the way we're using it, we'll give you your money back. And that gets headlines and attention. And then they assume everyone in church is going to forget they ever said that.
And do they get an itemized list of what?
Of course they don't. These
they
are the
use
same
the
churches
money
that
on?
hide how much they give the pastors.
Yeah,
and they say that's
true.
privileged information that only the elders are allowed to see.
God damn it, these fucking people.
Right.
They just don't stop. Are we done?
I got one more for you because I don't know. I want to
Oh,
get
is it about
through
Popoff? I heard Popoff is popping off. Woo!
It wasn't, but I'll go there. So do you want to explain who Peter Popoff is?
I love to explain who Peter Popoff is. It's one of my favorite stories.
Go.
Okay, you have to see An Honest Liar to see this played out in full.
The James Randi documentary.
James Randi documentary, directed by Tyler Measom, friend of the show, friend of this girl. I don't know why I did that. I'm sorry. I'm in a weird
I like that
headspace.
you're pointing at yourself with thumbs.
Two thumbs.
And no one can see this except me.
Yeah, it's for you. This performance is for you, Heaven. Don't you know?
Yes.
Anyway, Peter Popoff was a minister in the 70s. Probably was when he was biggest, and was one of those televangelists where somebody walks up and they haven't been able to walk in 16 years, and Peter Popoff touches her head and, oh my God, she can stand up and walk around and it's a miracle. And then he's standing on stage and he's like, there's a Mikey in this crowd. Is there a Mikey in this crowd who broke his elbow skateboarding? And Mikey is like,
wait, that's
me.
him.
And they know that because his wife is, Peter Popoff's wife has a little earwig in.
Yeah.
And his wife is like, okay, if you look to the right, you're going to see Mikey. He went skateboarding when he was in his 40s and broke his elbows.
And he filled out a card before the event that told us that.
So he's there, so you can go ahead and heal him.
Yep.
And there's truly this...
And why was this in the documentary? Because what did James Randi do?
Because James Randi fucking tapped into their... audio system.
That's right.
And you can hear his wife going, hey, Petey, if you can't hear me, you're in trouble. And it's truly one of the most iconic.
Yes.
I just can hear it in my head.
So that's Peter Popoff.
Yeah.
And even though Randi debunked
you're
all that...
You're in trouble. It's so fucking good. They couldn't have scripted it.
You can YouTube that, by the way, that whole section of the documentary. Yes. If you saw that, you would think, well, now his career is totally over.
Isn't
and clearly, no, he's still around.
How is he not dead? He was like
Televangelists don't die.
Oh, that's
true. This guy has still been doing his thing ever since then, because the people who would actually watch a documentary like that or be aware of the debunking are not his fan base. So for years now, he's been doing his infomercials where he says, buy my miracle water. It'll cure you of everything you have, basically.
Is it colloidal silver? Is it colloidal silver?
It is not colloidal silver, but it's just miracle water. So anyway, this is what this guy's been doing for years now. For what it's worth, there are skeptics who have documented the letter. You remember John Oliver did the televangelist segment?
Oh, hell yeah. That was early on.
Said, I had a male relationship with a different televangelist, and I sent him like some money. He sent me back a letter asking for more money. This went back and forth for months. There have been people who did that with Peter Popoff as well. And he hawks the miracle water with his correspondence as well.
It's funny they don't call it holy water. I guess that has
former
a specific
employee also said to our friend Carrie Poppy.
Carrie Poppy.
Said that, hey, this miracle water, we just bought it from Costco and then repackaged it and sold it.
It's like those little Kirkland, like
Pretty
4-ounce waters.
Yeah, your miracle water is Kirkland brand. All of this made his family wealthy. In 2017, an article about Peter Popoff published in GQ noted that he was making over $9 million a year in 2003 and $35 million a few years later, according to his ministry's nonprofit tax records. So here's why we bring this up.
Remember the thing I said about money being decoupled from creating value? This is what I'm feeling right now.
You knew Costco was good, but you didn't know the miracle water was that
Truly. I thought I could just buy a trampoline and a pineapple.
Here's where it gets really good. There is a Christian TV channel that airs a lot of places, but includes the UK. It's called The Word Network, primarily aimed at a black audience.
Really?
Yeah. But
Peter
in
Popoff tapped into a black audience?
They air whatever they can air. But here's the thing. In May of 2023, The Word Network aired 2 episodes of Peter Popoff's show, whatever he does. And it included his claim that buying his miracle spring water can improve your health or your finances. Not some vague claim that if you pray, Jesus will help you, but literally buy my product and it'll fix your health. And he was very specific about this. By the way, why is this channel airing his show? Literally the same reason you might see Joel Osteen on your TV on a random Sunday morning, because they can buy space on public TV stations.
And it costs him a lot to keep up those teeth, so he's
Right.
just constantly grinding.
Right? So according to like the FCC that exists in the UK, it's called Ofcom, they said literally these 2 episodes displayed a QR code and a phone number to direct you to buy their sham products. And among the things they documented him saying in these episodes, I want you to know when you anoint your hands with the miracle spring water, you are going to see that everything that you touch is going to prosper, grow, and be blessed. Bless your business. Bless whatever you touch. We're just going to see miracle after miracle after miracle. Sickness is going to disappear. He
If
also
I could
said
just
in the
find
other
a reliable
episode,
way to get rid of my hangnails, like that's
There you
all
go.
I'm looking for.
He
I don't need
also
eternal
said-
life.
Also said everything you touch is going to be healed, blessed. Like there were also testimonials from people who said they were helped by the miracle spring water. One person said he used the water and then got a check for $64,000. I don't know how, but there you go.
What?
Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Another person said his daughter had problems with her intestine, and doctors had no idea what was wrong, but the water healed her. And the water cured some guy's drug and alcohol addiction. And another person said the water canceled my student loan debt. And another person said it got rid of my diabetes. And here's nope,
I want to talk about the student loans.
I got no other information for you. And then another woman said, I think to Popoff's wife, this lady, her grandmother was very sick. What was that? Yeah, she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer in January. Stage 4 lung cancer? Yeah. And she was, the worst kind of lung cancer, says the woman. ... Implying that they used the miracle water. The lady says, now she's home. She's gained weight. She's dancing. She's running up and down. She's playing bingo again. Yeah. Wow. They went from lung cancer to running up and down because they interacted with Popoff's ministry. This is all in the 2 episodes that aired on this channel. But here's the thing.
She's 94. Like, she's got maybe 10 years left.
Maybe.
Like, it's not going to... Well, that's fine.
Anyway, broadcasting rules in the UK are not the same as in the US.
No, they are not.
And the thing is, the UK standards say the public must be protected from harmful and or offensive material. Can that be used for bad reasons? Like what's offensive to the eye of the beholder? Yes. But one of the things that they say is religious programs must not improperly exploit any susceptibilities of the audience.
Interesting.
Which is interesting because
very squishy.
That is squishy because, I don't know, isn't Joel Osteen manipulating his audience when he preaches the prosperity gospel? But the way Osteen does it is vague.
Yeah,
and he's like, if you
yeah.
believe in God, good things will happen to you. Right. Versus Popoff, who says, buy my water and your sickness will be healed.
Right.
That goes from like some gray area to, no, you're crossing the line. And so Ofcom says, oh, hey, Word Network, you aired these episodes? We're coming after you. And the channel disagreed at first. They said it was abusive to all of a sudden raise an issue when this guy's basically been grifting for decades.
Sure.
They were like, why are you coming after us now? Is it because we cater to like a black audience? They acted like they were victims of a double standard since other channels might air nudity or pornography and you never go after them, which again, that's very vague and the rules are subjective, whatever. Anyway, Ofcom listened to the complaint from the channel, but recently, as in like this week or last week, they said, all right, we did our investigation. We heard what they have to say in response. And no, we still say this guy went too far. Here's what Ofcom wrote.
Wow.
The illnesses discussed in the program, namely lung cancer and diabetes, are serious health conditions. The severity of the situation may increase this vulnerability. Viewers were likely to have understood from the testimonies broadcast in the program that serious medical and financial problems could be resolved by direct contact with Peter Popoff's ministry or by using the miracle spring water. Ofcom did not consider, taking all this into account, we don't think you provided adequate protection for viewers.
Awesome.
And now, 15 months later, after they published their first report and had a chance to get feedback, they have now punished the network with a £150,000 penalty. And the Word Network has been told you cannot air those episodes again.
Wow.
And you have to air basically a broadcast saying, here's what Ofcom found about a show we aired couple years ago. Like, you have to put that on your network.
Wow.
Which is like
so you have to be accountable.
hey, Fox News, when you
Sure.
lied about the election fraud thing, you have to now tell your audience.
Well, it's like your Facebook thing of like update, and
Yeah.
then it's just a link. Like they're
Yes.
not going to try to draw attention to that.
And the full report says the Word Network has since recognized and respected what we told them. They understand that they argued their audience understands miracle spring water is not a treatment or a cure. There's no reason to believe any of that. But they're not challenging the punishments. Like, it's a done deal. They have terminated their contract with Peter Popoff Ministries.
Wow.
Episodes of his show stopped airing on their network in October. And again, that's the right move. It prevents more gullible, probably elderly Christians from being exploited by a preacher if they just hand over a credit card number. So doesn't mean Popoff won't rip off other people, but because the UK government cares more about ethics than a Christian preacher, this guy's going to have fewer people falling for a scam.
That's wild.
Right?
What a weird guy. I cannot believe he's still alive.
I know. Same with a lot of those.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know if it's the hate that pickles you, but it's maybe just the money,
Yeah.
I guess.
The money keeps you alive.
Golly, that sucks. What a weird dude he is. Also, what I always think is funny is like if you listen. Oh,
It's like Kenneth Copeland, who says, I'm going to live till the age of like 120 something.
Well, and also like these people aren't especially charismatic. They don't have especially like nice sounding voices. It's just
They're
like
just
this
shilling their
dude
shit.
just screams on the TV and people send him money. And that's what I do. I need a TV. That's the problem. I scream in a microphone.
You had your own show. There you go.
Oh boy.
We'll
what
stop
a
there.
wild episode, Hemmant.
So much.
This is a club banger, I feel like.
And I'm skipping stuff. I'll get
Are
to
you?
it next week.
All right.
All right, where do we find us? You can go to patreon.com/friendlyatheist podcast to support the show. You can leave a review on the podcast apps. Buy the merch. The merch is good. Go get it.
You can also leave a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. This review is from Bibliophile G. Double plus good. It's a 1984 goof. Double plus good. Factual podcast. Great team, J&H. Perfect balance and delivery from calm to outrage. Which one's me?
All of the above.
How do you make me smile while telling me bad news? Good for you. 5 stars.
Aw,
I loved
thanks.
that. That's really nice.
All right.
All right, you can
talk.
always email us at friendlyatheistpodcast@gmail.com. We do read all of them.
For better, for worse.
Yep.
And bonus
Sometimes
episode.
I ignore them. Sometimes I read them to my husband. Sometimes I cry. Bonus episode. I am just finished the first season of my rewatch of Kevin Can Fuck Himself, and boy, it's a good show.
Okay.
It really is, and it's also a Massachusetts theme. Takes place in Worcester. I am deep into the third LBJ book and am in the middle of the bit on the civil rights.
Okay.
So just was reading a lot about that in the last few days. So I don't know why that's affected me recently, the civil rights struggle of the 20th century. And also David Lynch, the writer-director whom my husband really loves. I love a lot too. There's going to be a David Lynch Fest in Chicago at the Music Box Theater in April at some point. I know Mikey got a pass. He's going to go to all of them, and I think I'm going to see a couple movies, and I want to talk to you about them.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Bye.